The focus of this course is on the touch points between the front-end client application and the back-end server. Before we can examine the touch points, we need to look at the architecture and anatomy of both the Angular app and the ASP.NET Web API service. Next, we'll cover the most common touch point, retrieving data. We'll look at how to build a simple ASP.NET Web API service for retrieving data and the Angular code required to call that service and process the result. Before the Angular application can successfully communicate with the ASP.NET Web API, we need to look at two additional concepts: CORS, or Cross-Origin Request Sharing, and Web API Serialization Formatters. Next, we'll take a look at passing parameters. We'll cover several options, including query strings and URL parameters. We then cover the awesomeness that is OData. We'll define what it is and why you might want to leverage the power of OData queries. Up to this point, we've focused on retrieving data, but most applications also need to save data. We'll look at how to pass data from the Angular application to the Web API service, and how to process and respond to save requests. Next, we'll look at what to do if we get an invalid request, missing or invalid data, or an exception. We'll cover action results, error handling, and validation in the Web API, and how the Angular code can recognize and take action based on both success and error responses from the Web API. One common touch point between the front and the back is user authentication. This is such a big topic that it is divided here into two parts. Part 1 looks at user authentication from the point of view of the Web API. We'll discover how to use the Web API to authenticate a user. Part 2 covers user authentication from the Angular app's point of view. We'll demonstrate how to build a login form, register a new user, and log in an existing user. Next, we'll look at user authorization. We'll see how to restrict access to the Web API methods and how to grant access to protected Web API methods. The final module provides some final words, a brief review, and additional resources. Now, let's get started.